Good afternoon. Look, I'm always excited for these sessions because it takes me about a couple of minutes to really read the room. But I think she made it a lot easier for me to see that clearly no one, or maybe just a few people, are thinking about commerce media today. So you gotta love sessions after break because everybody is caffeinated, energetic, and I promise you, for the next 30 minutes, you guys are gonna learn something new that you'll be able to take back with you and really leverage to supercharge and become a great marketer. My name is Varun Budhiraja, and I am the data collaboration evangelist at AppsFlyer. Now, we know commerce media is not being used, but we know that we have a lot of marketeers in the room. So a quick show of hands, how many of you know what is first-party data? Okay, that's almost half the room. Well, first-party data is the key. It is the most direct and intimate relationship a marketers have with their customers. And rightly so, right? It is clean, it is compliant, and really deeply rooted in real customer behavior. Now, really, first-party data is what separates a good marketer from a great marketer. And don't trust me. Look at what Google and BCG are saying. Marketeers leveraging first-party data in their campaigns are delivering up to 3 times higher revenue uplift. And this is the secret sauce that separates a good marketer from a great marketer. Now let's look at this beautiful woman on the screen. This is the kind of picture marketeers have enjoyed on their customers for the last decade or so. But things like data fragmentation, regulations, platform changes, it's really making this picture blurry, and as a result, life of marketers really, really difficult. And this is where the opportunity for retail and commerce media network comes up. Now, there was a poll right after this, and some of you got it right. A fourth of digital ad spend globally this year alone is going to be on retail and commerce media network. So rightly so, this is an opportunity that cannot be ignored. But a lot of you may be thinking, what exactly is a commerce media network, right? Well, when you look at companies like Grab, GCash, Flipkart, leveraging their first-party data and opening opportunities to advertise, collaborate, that's what we call a commerce or a retail media network. Now for retailers, and those of you who are aware of retail as an industry, it's a highly profitable business. Imagine, when you sell your core merchandise as a retailer, your margins are single digits. Selling retail media, the margins are almost 5 to 10 times higher. And in the year that we're living now, which is the year of efficiency, bottom line really matters. For those of you considering retail media or commerce media network, and I know a lot of you are not, hopefully this changes your mind today, this really gives you a new, rich picture on your customers. You can overcome the signal loss, leveraging another party's first-party data. You can really diversify your media mix. You can connect with the audience at the right moment, and most importantly, you can deliver personalization at scale. Now, a lot of you may be thinking, well, we are app marketeers, right? We don't sell on retail. What does it have to do with my brand? Why is this interesting for me? Well, this is where things get even more exciting. Merkel says that most brands are actually partnering with retailers that don't actually carry their product. And for a single reason, which is the rich data that these retailers have today on their customers, making it a very, very attractive proposition for all marketeers. Now let's look at some examples of how marketeers can leverage commerce media data. If you're a retail marketer, you can target high-income households. If you're a ride-hailing marketer, you can target premium services users, corporate users. For telco marketeers, they're always looking for young tech-savvy users. For travel marketeers, look at people who can be sold financial services product, who are frequent travelers. And for quick commerce marketeers, target customers who have that disposable income spending regularly. Now, while all of this sounds great, there are still a lot of challenges adopting commerce or retail media, and rightly so, because I read the room, and a lot of you said that you're not leveraging this today in your media mix. And it all starts with private and secure environment to collaborate. Because remember, first-party data is a big responsibility. Retailers, media networks, and brands alike need a secure place to collaborate on this first-party data. And as marketeers, we all like control. We like to build our own audiences, we like to bring our own business logic, and this becomes a new challenge because, let's agree, we're all used to leveraging platforms like TikTok, like Meta, like Google, and that gives you immense flexibility that retailers today aren't able to give you. And last and most importantly, what is the point of this collaboration if you don't understand the results that this first-party data is driving for your brands? So to uncover some of these challenges and look at opportunities that are driving commerce media, I would love to invite my two dear friends, Carlos and Naveen, on the stage to discuss and deep dive more into this topic. I am so excited about this.
Same. Super nice to see everybody in the room today.
Hey guys, hi Manila.
All right.
Hi.
So, Kaloy, Naveen, and I have spent a lot of time over a lot of cocktails discussing this exact same topic. So the last couple of days, what we figured is how to make it more formal, right? Without all the banter that we do. But we'll still try to keep some banter today as well so that we can at least entertain you beyond the information, okay? So Kaloy, I can't call you Carlos because I'm just not used to calling you Carlos, okay? So we're going to keep it Kaloy, right?
Sure.
Okay. I'll start with you first, right? You've been building the business for a really long time at GCash. Why is commerce media a great opportunity today for marketers to really consider? And specifically for the metrics that really matter to them, which is ROAS and ROI.
Yeah, so we've been hearing that word, or those four letters a lot today, right? ROAS, which is essentially return on advertising spend. And I think that's what everybody here kind of endeavors for. Even the debate earlier came to a conclusion where at some point you have to kind of evaluate the spend that you're doing with sales, right? But I think given the speech you just made and with things that Nico Marco mentioned earlier about ad fraud, there are limitations to what's available today in the market, right? So when I say limitations, at the end of the day, the brand is just not that connected to the customers. And the thing that we see with commerce media and the opportunities that we see is that this kind of unlocks an opportunity to see real intent. And as a twin brother or a sister of intent is to connect that to actual value, right? So with commerce media, you can target better, and at the end of the day, you can measure what happened if the person actually did something coming from the campaign that you did. So I guess the keyword is it becomes a closed loop, right? So
that is the dream of every marketer, right? Close the loop on your ad engagements. And rightly so, the richer signals that you get with commerce media are truly unimaginable. But Kaloy, just for the audience, could you specify maybe a success story that you've seen with GCash where a brand leveraged the commerce media data?
Okay, so I can think of one cool kind of a campaign in mind. We did something with a FMCG brand that they wanted to improve the engagement that they had with moms, right? Something very close to our hearts. Like we all love our mothers, right? Yes, right. So if I was a normal brand manager and I would try to come up with a certain targeting metric for moms, right? I would do a certain age range, maybe female, and so on and so forth. Traditionally, at least, right? But what kind of we're able to unlock with GCash and commerce media in general, not just GCash, is that you can kind of take a look at the deeper behavior of audiences. For example, why don't we take a look at where they shop and how much they shop? Because traditionally, moms are the ones that handle the groceries in the house. But they're also the CFOs of the house, right? They're the ones that manage the budgets. They're the ones that pay the bills. They're the ones that buy the insurance and make the investments in the savings, right? So you kind of take a look at that from the context of commerce media, GCash, and other platforms like BPI and so on and so forth. You get to paint the kind of a clear picture with who in the internet are actually mothers. So we did a campaign, we ran it, and we got, I think, around 4x more return for that campaign just because we did that additional color of targeting and what. And we were able to actually measure the resulting behavior.
Well, a 4x return on ad spend is every marketeer's dream, isn't it? So that's really a great success story. And I absolutely agree. I mean, behavior changes tells you a lot about the customer. So, well, here's the opportunity for you guys to also think that are we looking and chasing higher return on ad spend, where commerce media is a big opportunity for us to really enable us to do that. Now, I want to switch the seats a little bit. Naveen, you play within this ecosystem. And commerce media today, and for those of leaders and executives sitting in the room thinking about building this business because it does deliver high margin, it's an ecosystem play, right? It's not just an individual company trying to build this business on their own. So how does the ecosystem play a role here?
Yeah, first of all, I think moms are chief everything officer,
Yeah.
not just CFOs. Secondly, when you said you want to change seats, I was just thinking you want me to get up there. What do you say, guys? Yeah. First of all, good afternoon and thank you. So one of the key things we've seen with customers and partners across is understand your customer first. And by meaning understand your customer first, understand your data. The key value in unlocking value for commerce media is understand your customer first, because first-party data helps you understand greater personalization, greater customer experiences, and greater customer delight. That's your objective. By the way, because you have that opportunity, you want to serve them better. The data tells you what they need to be served and how they need to be served. The second piece is you need to understand what's the operations and orchestration of that data in an organization, because CMOs are custodians of trust, right? And the third piece which is there is when you're unlocking value with the data, is it actually building efficacy and advocacy? Because you're not trying to start a business. You're trying to start an entire ecosystem, and for that ecosystem, you need acceleration. For the advocacy of it, you need partners. We see, as CMOs and marketeers, you work with partners in the industry. Jin's here from TikTok, so hey Jin, hi. Someone actually told me, what is ATL? And I said, it's TikTok, right? It's above the line all the time, right? It's on your mind. But the area which is there is you also have to work with agency partners who look at beyond and understand that. So they're the next partner. And the reason is this is the vocabulary of trust. Because when you're building commerce media business, you're not harvesters of data. You're value of creation of customer experience. So you're unifiedly looking at this journey constantly to work with partners who make sure that happens. And that's where you need an ecosystem. You need conscience keepers to remind you what is right for your customer as much as you believe in them.
So get your data right, have the necessary consent, get the right technology, and get the right demand partners. Yeah. 4 things.
We're going to talk about consent next, a little more deeper.
That's exactly what I want to touch. So data does play a critical role in the entire commerce media business, right? And with data comes right measurement as well. What are your thoughts on those 2 things?
So first is, when I talk about understanding customer data, you need to know the value of your customer and know what they've allowed you to do with it. Because your objective is to serve them better. And that's where consent becomes so key. We all visit various websites, have behavior, and we've seen proxy metrics about how human behavior or individual behavior is forecasted. And we try to make sure we do that best with that data to serve our brands, businesses, right? But having said that, consent has 2 parts to it. It's dynamic, it's explicit, and it's implicit. So let me just break this down. So all of us have heard of static content. That means you had typically demographics and behavior patterns. But you have dynamic data, which Kala is talking about, behavior that actually converts. You have explicit, which is when all of us have indicated our preferences when you download an app, right? All of us have done. But then, last week, I always plan in the beginning of the year, how many of us want to lose weight? And how many weeks does that last? So the same thing is like that. Explicit consent is when you download your app or the customer engagement with the brand one time in your life. Implicit consent is the way I behave with it every day. And that consent is very critical. So to your point, first, understand consent. Second is how do you manage and measure that consent? Of course, if you're using GCash, any of you don't have GCash as a wallet? Please,
I don't
please,
think
please.
so. I will be surprised.
See, I have a GCash wallet, I just don't have money in it. Right? Yeah, so the value is that how does...
I'll take care of it later, Navi.
Exactly. So what does happen is three of us... So, we were talking about Varun going to a bar, right? So automatically, when we three go to a bar, the measurement is to whom should you present the bill, right? Is it Varun? Is it Kaloy? Or is it me? Now what you could do is present the bill to me. And then I'll start fumbling and I'll say, hey, get that check if you can. I've lost it. Or I'll say this call has come. That's what I do all the time. But if you knew exactly who had the money as a measurement, you would present the bill to the right person and Kaloy would feel privileged to pay that bill. Right? GCash pays the bill, trust me. So that's the area which is there where you know where the payment is coming from and you know who has it so that you preserve the trust and also build an experience that is differentiated. So the second part of it is that is a component of measurement which is attribution to know who can take the bill. The third part of it, which is there, is you have to constantly understand that I'm changing. In the morning, I like my coffee. In the afternoon, I like my decaf. And by night, I like my espresso martini. It's the same coffee, right? So the question which is there is, did my love for coffee change through the day? It does. The flavor is the same. The rendition is different. So that's where customer experiences transform. And partners like AppsFlyer tell you how to do this. So underlying all this is the infrastructure that happens. So you understand your data. You understand technology that's data clean rooms. Now, what is data clean rooms? It is essentially a safe space for data. Data finds a space where two brands or more brands can come explore each other. So one of the examples we have seen is a large travel OTA. So all of us book trips a few weeks in advance, right? If not a few months in advance. How many book it 3 to 6 months in advance? You get this great deal on Philippine Air Asia, or you get this on Klook, or you get this on trip.com or whatever else. All of us book how many months? 3 months? 2 months? 1 month? 3. Even my mom doesn't know where I'm going, or my wife does not know I'm going 3 months ahead, but I just book it because it's the best deal, right? Now, the area which is there is how does a travel website add value to the customer? Through collab, data clean rooms. We have done this with the customer. Because I'm booked my trip to Hokkaido, I need winter wear 3 months in advance. It's summer, but can I actually look for winter wear clothing, which is at a great deal during summer where the price is low? Second, when I'm going there and I need an eSIM, I don't need to pay expensive roaming. Maybe that's where. Third, I need to pay when I travel. So can I get a prompt for a Suica card that accepts payments across all the travel lines? So these 4 things could happen through clean rooms, where you could create differentiated experiences for your customer, and it would not come across as advertising. It would come across as enhanced value. And that's what happens. So that's what Kaloy is doing next week. He's going to be in Japan, and he's going to do all of this. So all of you can send him links and Reddish.
Love your analogy, Naveen, not your GCash wallet balance. This was a very, very good example that you gave, because at the end of the day, as custodians of data, it's important that we keep that first-party data private, and which is where technologies such as clean rooms, they come handy to really help you keep that data secure, and at the same time, deliver that customer experience which is very relevant, very contextual, and as Naveen rightly said, built on dynamic data attributes. Now, Kaloy, back to you. There are a lot of trends shaping up the commerce media industry, and especially when it comes to offsite activation, cross-channel measurements. What are your thoughts about some of these trends?
So we could go back to something I think Naveen said that resonates really well with me in the context of these trends. No, he mentioned something about putting the customer first, right? So at the end of the day, for example, GCash or Grab or any other commerce media platform, we have a responsibility for our customers, right? First and foremost before anything else. What does that mean? At the end of the day, even if we have lots of rich inciting, rich audiences and so on, you can't do a lot of these executions and bombard your app with so many of these recommendations, right? You have to balance everything with customer experience, usability, right? So my thing about this trend is, how do I now get audiences I can generate from GCash, audiences I can generate from Grab, from BPI, from TikTok Shop, and allow advertisers to place ads anywhere where their customer is. So for example, I could place an ad on Meta or on Google or on TikTok using a GCash mom's audience and plow back the measurement using GCash attribution or AppsFlyer attribution. So I want to do that, but the challenge is, how do you connect? So you've kind of spread out the audiences, but how do you now connect the measurement? That's the next trick. There has to be a lot of collaboration within the ecosystem. Advertisers have to be willing to cooperate and collaborate that data set so that we can close that loop in any channel, right? And the last bit of it, obviously, is what Naveen mentioned, that we're doing all of these collaborations. We have to do it in a secure way. We have to do it in a safe way. We have to do it in a consented way. Because at the end of the day, that's what the customers need. But if we're able to kind of do all of those and work together across all of those different ecosystem components, then I think the game will really change.
I love that, and rightly said, at the end of the day, the core business of a retailer is to sell merchandise. The core business of a financial services company is to sell financial services. That experience should never be hampered, which is why channels where customers are generally used to discovering brands are a great activation possibility, which doesn't ruin customer experience, yet deliver the value that marketeers are really looking for. Now, Naveen, my final question is to you. There are a lot of executives in the room that now may be thinking, well, it's a high margin business. I can also start to think about it. What is your advice to them? And on the other hand, what is your advice to marketeers who may not have thought about retail or commerce media, but now are excited to look at it?
Thank you. And it's never easy, but the question which I have is, I'll start, for all of you, just a quick thing. Around 25 years ago, I was a wannabe advertiser. I spent a few years in Ogilvy and McCann, and I used to constantly look at what value can I add to my customer. So I'm just going to go back and talk about this for the marketer first, and then the opportunity upside, because I think nobody wants to become an advertising player or a business. They want to take care of the customers, and I think this room is full of people like that. So we'll start with first, is I call it the concept of trust and transparency. Trust, because customers share their experience with you and nuggets of their life and nuggets of data with you with the trust that you're going to be, it's an intimate personal relationship. Transparent, because you want to also do what you've told them to do, and you only do what they have told you to do. So it's a journey together. The second thing which is there is, you want to also unlock better value to your customers, because if you assume your world, you are the center of your customer's world, there's something really. So you want to also be where they are. And hence, you need to unlock value through this, because gone are the days where you assumed you could be on a third-party marketplace or a platform that will reflect intent. intent has changed, and where a customer is different, because the same coffee could be different things to me at different times of the day, and hence you need to be where your customer is. So you look to your left, just look to your left. Look to your right. The person next to you may know more about your customer than you think. And the reason I'm saying this to you is, assuming you know enough about your customer is the beginning of the end. So the person next to you could probably be the next big thing, right? If I'm a ride-hailing platform, the maximum engagement I'll have in a day is 2 times a day or 3 times a day. But if I'm a wallet like GCash, I probably have 8 transactions a day. I reveal a lot more to Kaloy than I reveal to my wife. Damn it, like just don't tell her that, okay, guys, right? So the second area is that can't I work with Kaloy to give a better experience to the customer, right? So that's the second part. And then the third part is the accountability and the efficacy. When you mean accountable, just because you've used their data, you should close the loop with the customer to give them an enhanced experience. So only collaborate with brands and businesses that add value. And on the other side is efficacy. Use AppsFlyer that gives you value in telling you where your money was well spent or where the attribution came from, because you have to close the loop and you have to know whether the conversion happened. So you also want to know whether the customer liked the experience, right? So these, as a marketer. Now the good thing about it is all of us like serendipity, the pleasant upsides. It's like going to a sale in a restaurant and then, or a store, and you get this extra deal off. I always look at that. So now I call the commerce media the upside of marketing. You are planning to create enhanced experiences. Your customers tell you more about themselves. You may actually, the CMO becomes the CRO, because now you can start generating revenue through advertising. So now as a CRO, a CMO now was looking for ROI. Treat your customer well, and you can actually make money for the business, just a different way, right? So on the other side is, as a business, it has, of course, we spoke about EBITDA. It has high amount of profitability. But I think it has to have some amounts of governance and accountability. So you need to understand what is allowed by a customer and not. So consent should be dynamic, not static. And hence, personalization should be even more dynamic. So you need an infrastructure that makes that happen, because then you can trust for enhanced customer experiences. The second thing which is there is value the experience. Don't just look at the monetization. That means it's very quick to make some quick money, but you are in the business for long-term value with the relationship you build, and your customers keep sharing nuggets of themselves with you. So make sure it matters to them and to you. Third, accountability. The most important thing about this, and why this is, you are in the business of business because your customers trust you. So make sure you don't violate that trust. And that trust violation comes from 2 factors. Misusing consent and data, which is critical, and that's why you need infrastructure and accountability and governance inside organizations. At AWS, we take this very seriously. But more important, and of course, DCR is the technology we use and built. But on the other side is you need measurement. You want to measure even what is not working, just for you to learn what your customer does not want. Sometimes people don't say what they want to say. Sometimes by not saying, they say a lot.
Well, thank you, Naveen. For marketeers, I think it's a great opportunity to leverage commerce media, because you get your customer at the right place at the right time with much richer signals that you wouldn't be able to get otherwise. And for executives thinking about this business, it's finally chance that data can make it to the better side of the balance sheet. So look at the right consent, engage with the right partners, and hopefully next year when we come back again to Manila, I see more marketeers leveraging commerce media in their media mix. So thank you so much, Naveen and Kaloy. This was a lovely conversation.
Thank you. And
guys
actually,
enjoyed.
more importantly, I'm scared that luckily this Slido is not here to say who won and who lost. You know, the previous one with Delbert, man, you rocked.
No, I think we all win.